Hey guys, subscribe for daily content, and if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks!
What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got another interesting knife review / knife overview to show you guys. This is the AM8 / Miguron Gladiator, which is a premium knife. These knives are made in China. It is a premium knife with a really good price tag on it. It should be available, but then again, all these videos are pre-recorded, so by the time you're watching it, it might not be. Either way, I'm going to link it right down below so you guys can check it out if you want to. It does help my channel when you use my links, but that is entirely up to you. Thanks so much to Miguron for sending this in for me to take a look at. Thanks to my patrons for supporting me, and please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. Let's go ahead and get a measurement. Overall length is coming in at about 8¼ inches, maybe a hair longer. Yeah, it's actually more like 8.35 inches overall. Blade length is coming in at, wow, 3.75. And your cutting edge is coming in almost exactly 3.5 inches. Really good ratios here. Let's go ahead and do some size comparisons up against the Ontario Rat Model 1 and the Ontario Rat Model 2. You can see here it's almost exactly the same size as the Rat 1. How about up against the Spyderco PM2 and the Spyderco Para 3? Definitely much closer to the PM2 than the Para 3. And last but not least, let's put it up against the Benchmade Griptilian, or in this case, the Ritter Hogue, and the Benchmade Bug Outs. All right, let's move along here. How's the action on this guy? It's very good. It's not necessarily spectacular. In fact, you know, just considering the caliber that it is in, it is nowhere near as impressive as, say, their Valona model, which is way less expensive. And honestly, they have put out some more expensive models, some more premium models that are in the same tier as this that feel a little bit better. But it's still good and honestly about par for the course. The one curious thing is that the detent click is almost completely and totally non-present. Here, I'll show you. It's there, because look, I mean, right, but it just goes, it's just like a thud, like a ghost hitting the floor at 0.5 miles an hour, right? But here, I can hear it, right? And I think it's because, yeah, it's because I am putting pressure on the lock bar. If I let go of that pocket clip, no, now it's actually making the sound. What was the issue? I don't know. It has literally done that the entire time I have had it, except for just now. Did I move the detent ball? It's literally not doing it anymore. All right. I guess it's fine. Still another little issue there, and we'll talk about it here in a sec, but I guess there is a detent sound, right? Anyways, we're talking about action. Oh yeah, so deploying it, you can light switch it with the flipper tab, and it's okay, right? It feels a little bit awkward, and sometimes it does that, right? Thumb stud deployment though, it's good to go, right? The action feels consistent, but it's good. It's nothing spectacular, but it'll work, right? Let's go ahead and do carry profile. Thickness up against the Spyderco Para 3. We are coming in almost the same thickness. This guy, the Gladiator, is a little bit thicker. Length and height up against the PM2 and Para 3. This guy is coming in, got a lot, like, you know, like a rectangle that's been shaved down a little bit. It's actually a little shorter than the PM2, a little longer than the Para 3, nowhere near as tall as either. I mean, you could say it's approaching it, but not really. I think for the most part in the pocket, this is not going to be too much of an issue. Sorry, I'm knocking stuff over off camera. Let's take a look at the inside here real quick. Oh, they did mill it on the inside. I didn't think that they did. All right. Materials, we are looking at M390 and titanium. Weight on this guy is coming in at, here we go, 5.33 ounces, which is definitely, on the heavier side. Not necessarily the most defensive thing in the world, but nowhere near that ratio that we look for. It is balanced about right inside the choil though, so not bad if you're used to carrying, you know, larger knives or slightly heavier knives. Not going to be that big of a deal. If you're used to carrying knives like the mini bug out, well, you're going to notice this for sure. Let's go ahead and get my tools out for a hardware check. As per usual, my tools are very inexpensive and very recommendable. You can find them right down in the section of my description that talks about the tools I use on this channel. I believe The pivot screw is a T8, and it is. These screws are T6. It is minimal, though. There's just a couple on each side. There's a hidden screw for the pocket clip, and then, of course, the lock bar insert screw is also a T6. As long as you have quality tools and a place to put your hardware, you should be good to go. This should be pretty simple to take apart. Let's measure the blade stock thickness here real quick. I'm going to guess that's about 135 thousandths. Let's give it a go. Wrong again, 125 thousandths. So about the same as like the Ritter Hogue. All right, this is a pretty straightforward titanium frame lock. I do appreciate this kind of dark gray look that we have going on here. The blade almost looks like it's got some type of coating on it to give it that, and the titanium has also been darkened to match it. It's pretty good. If it is a coating, it will assist in corrosion resistance, which is pointless because this is M390, but I suppose, you know, people who really need corrosion resistance and don't want to utilize the compositions that are impervious to corrosion can, you know, use all the corrosion resistance they can get. If it's not, then it looks gray. I don't know. The benefit is in the eye of the beholder there. But it looks good. It looks consistent, and I like it, especially in contrast with the blue here. I think this is, you might be able to get this in black unless some of the pictures are just dark and I am mistaking this exact color for black. But this sort of gunmetal gray thing that they have going on here looks pretty good. And the handle scales have slight reflectivity to them, so it's not the same, you know, tumbled titanium that we get with everything else. Kind of like it. I also feel like it would have looked just fine with satin hardware, you know, both for the studs and for the pivot. I don't know why they chose a yellow pivot collar. I'm undecided about how that looks with the gray, but okay, it's there. Yeah, the aesthetics are pretty good. They got some lines in here breaking up what would otherwise be a very, very plain and very, very common handle shape or handle profile. But you know what? It works. It's got a primary area for your index finger, and you can also choke up. It's pretty roomy up here. It's fairly comfortable. The pocket clip is milled. They have knocked the corners down, and it's actually slightly contoured. Why they didn't contour the titanium scales, I don't know, but it's plenty comfortable, right? I mean, I can feel the pocket clip. It's not what I'd call a hot spot. The edges of the titanium are nicely knocked down. It's like holding onto a rectangle that has a half circle cut for your index finger, right? It's about as comfortable as that can be. I'd give it a B, but you'll definitely, be able to use this for an extended period of time without your hands getting, worn out or anything just from, you're not going to like, oh, my hand hurts because this is shaped like a pineapple and not like a knife handle, right? No, you should be okay, right? It'll do it. But, the straight lines offer a nice aesthetic, a very classic and honestly overdone or overused aesthetic, but a nice classic knife profile. If you like this look, then here it is. It looks good on this knife. We have a clip point blade. It's kind of a short, stumpy clip. Some people are going to say reverse tanto, whatever you want to call it. It's fine with me. It looks like a clip point to me, so that's what I'm going to say. It has a flat running about 85% the length of the blade. It does taper down to an okay. It's not thick, but I definitely wouldn't call it thin. It'll cut, it'll slice, it'll poke, right? It's kind of like exactly medium, right? I mean, the Ritter Hogue does a better job with with 125 thousandths stock than this knife. It tapers down to a thinner edge, right? This tapers down to it's okay. It'll slice. It's not going to be, like cutting melted butter with an Opinel. It's not quite going to cut that efficiently, but it'll cut, right? We can see the AM8 logo right there, and then on this side it just says M390. Very minimal build boarding, which is nice. The blade itself looks very good. This if this is a coating, it is very consistent. I'm leaning more on the side that it is. It really looks like Cerakote, but I don't know if that's the case. I don't remember reading that they had Cerakote, but maybe I missed it, right? It also kind of feels like that too. The edge feels good, right? A little bit of bite to it. Nice pointy tip, little swedge up there. Edges are nicely knocked down, so comfortable for your fingers. Probably a little bit difficult to strike a ferro rod off of, but it depends on what you're going to do with it. Overall, the blade is good. It'll do exactly what you want it to do. I will point out that they list this as M390 with a Rockwell range of 59 to 61. Same thing I say about other companies that seem to think that 59 is okay. In my opinion, the bottom of this range for a production knife should be 60. Anything under 60 should be too low. We need to be, all these companies, it seems like every company is just like, yeah, 59, 61. It should be 60 to 62, right? Some people will say that you won't be able to get the best out of M390 unless it's 63. I think that heavily depends on whether or not it's coated and what the geometry of the blade is. But I think, 60 is acceptable, right? 61 is, hey, that's pretty good. 62 is like, now we're getting to the optimal zone, the optimal balance between potential edge retention and toughness of M390. Again, the geometry of the blade will definitely impact how much of this you can utilize. But in my opinion, I have to keep saying that, 60 to 62 would be it'd make us feel a lot better about what we're paying for this, right? This is a good deal as it sits, but it would be, wow, 60 to 62, right? Not necessarily, not just coming down on Miguron. I'm honestly talking to about 20 different companies right now. I think many people would appreciate a bump up, right? And while it doesn't seem like it's that much, remember that scale, there's an exponential difference with every increase in Rockwell hardness. It is not static. It is an exponential difference. So the difference between 59 and 60 is actually a big deal. The same with 60 to 61, right? Well, I'll let you guys research that for yourselves. Anyways, let's move on here. Overall fit and finish, honestly, is very good. It's exactly what I'd expect from a, high-end Chinese production knife company. We have a backspacer back here, a little bit of a frag pattern there. That's fine. We have a little slot for lanyard. So lanyard people, yay, right? It's out of the way of the pocket clip, which is great. Curious that they didn't mount it a little deeper. It's still not quite shallow, but you're going to have this sort of rectangle within a rectangle sticking up out of your pocket. So I don't know. I think the clip is great though, honestly. Smooth surface for it to ride over, nice ramp in and out of the pocket. It's very easy. And honestly, I don't feel like it's going to fly out of my pocket. There's just it's got a little bit of booty sticking out of the end. We got a steel lock bar insert that's going to double as the over travel stop, so that's great. Par for the course, right? That's what we want to see usually on these. It doesn't need it, but it's nice to see it, right? Some shouldering back here. Wraps around that little stop pin there nicely. No blade play up, down, left, or right. No lock stick. No double clutch. No pivot lash at all. Consistent in here. And then what was a thud is now apparently a click. And the centering is... Sorry, let me get my finger off that. Perfect. Little bit of detent lash right here. And that makes me think there's an issue with the detent ball, right? You can't hear it, but it's clicking just a little bit. I don't like to see that. In this position, the only time it should move is if you pull the blade away from it, but there should not be play. That detent ball should fit snugly into that hole, right? And then the tension on the lock bar will determine the detent strength, right? That can be tuned. Maybe yours isn't like that. This one is, and it was sent directly by them, so I'm still going to talk about it. So the best part about this knife is that it comes in, like many Miguron / AM8 knives, they're the same company. It comes in with an excellent price tag, $160. Yeah, that's really great. This is extremely competitive, right? You're not going to find too many knives out there that are being executed like this, using these materials, right? Now, granted, there's an issue. Feels like there's a little play in the closed position with the detent ball, and your range is anywhere from, in my opinion, not acceptable to pretty good for M390. 61 is why I'd say pretty good for M390, right? There's a range in there. So, it's kind of a dice roll. There's a 33%, is that right? Yeah, there's a 33.3% chance that you will end up with a 59 Rockwell hardened M390 blade, which in my opinion is too soft, right? Even in a wide variety of blade geometries. Still though, at $160, not the most impressive or unique blade shape, not the most impressive or unique handle shape, but it is easy to manipulate. It should be plenty comfortable to use for an extended period of time. And it looks nice, right? Especially this dark gray. The dark gray finish looks good. It looks just as good in person as it does on camera here, right? I know people are like, well, you got good lighting and all of the, well, thanks. You don't have to compliment my lighting, but thanks. That was nice of you. Yeah, no, it does. It really does look good. I like it. So this is a recommendable knife, right? Need to get that range a little higher. I could choke down the detent ball wiggly issue if I knew that the base Rockwell hardness on this guy was going to be 60. But at 159, this is still a good deal. I'll make sure that it's linked down below. You guys can check it out if you want to. Thanks again to Miguron/AM8 for sending us in for a review. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.